Imagine whipping your car around a really sharp curve at a constant 50 kilometers per hour. Your speedometer is completely steady, yet you are literally being slammed sideways against the car door. So, why is that happening? What you're feeling right there actually represents a fundamental paradox in physics. See, we usually think of acceleration as stomping on the gas pedal to speed up or slamming the brakes to slow down. So, how on earth can you be accelerating if your speed never actually changes? How does a constant speed produce such a violent physical force? By the end of this explainer, we're going to completely unpack this circular motion paradox. We'll look at the two essential formulas you need, how to derive them, and we'll apply them to some truly extreme real-world applications. To solve this paradox, we have to rethink velocity. Remember, velocity is a vector. It's got two parts, magnitude, which is your speed, and direction. In uniform circular motion, sure, your speed might be perfectly constant, but your direction, that's changing every single fraction of a second. And because your direction is constantly changing, your velocity is changing. Which means, yep, you are accelerating. This brings us to centripetal acceleration. The word centripetal actually comes from Latin, and it literally means center seeking. So as you make that sharp turn, your acceleration is always pointing directly inward, right toward the center of your circular path. Now let's actually map this out. Imagine tracking an object moving along a circle. If we draw the instantaneous velocity vectors at two different points and look at the change in velocity between them, they actually form an isosceles triangle, two equal sides representing our constant speed. Well, at the exact same time, if you look at the two radii connecting the center of the circle to those points, plus the arc length between them, they form a second, mathematically similar isosceles triangle. Since these triangles are similar, we can just set up a simple ratio. The change in velocity divided by the speed equals the arc length divided by the radius. Divide that whole expression by time, and boom, we get our fundamental equation. And here it is. Centripetal acceleration, that's a sub z, equals your linear speed, v, squared, divided by the radius, r. Now pay close attention to this. Acceleration is inversely proportional to the radius. That means a sharper corner, which has a much smaller radius, is going to hit you with a significantly higher acceleration. Wait, let's pause here and connect this back to driving. Let's say you take that exact same highway curve, but instead of 50 kilometers per hour, you decide to push it to 100. You've doubled your speed. Does that mean you feel twice the acceleration? Nope. Look closely at the formula again. The velocity is squared. Because of that little square, doubling your speed mathematically quadruples the centripetal acceleration. It is literally 4 times as hard to take that curve. And honestly, this is exactly why taking sharp turns at high speeds is so incredibly dangerous. So your biggest job here is just knowing which formula to use. What we just looked at, v squared over r, is perfect for when you know the linear or tangential speed, like a car traveling in meters per second. But what if you're analyzing something spinning in place, and you only know the rotation rate? That's when we swap out linear speed for angular velocity, which is the Greek letter omega. The formula transforms into a sub c equals r times omega squared, and omega is just measured in radians per second. Basically, you'll grab this second formula anytime you're dealing with revolutions or spins, rather than straight-line speed around a curve. Now, let's apply this to a pretty wild historical example. Olympic ice skaters are obviously famous for their rapid spins, usually pulling about 5 revolutions per second. But back in the 1950s, an exceptional skater named Dick Button managed to spin at an unbelievable 9 revolutions per second. Now, visualize the anatomy of a skater during a super tight spin. The axis of rotation is the very center of their body, but a human nose sticks out about 0.120 meters from that central axis. So, what happens to the tip of a nose spinning that intensely fast? Let's run the numbers using our angular velocity formula. First, we convert those 9 revolutions per second into radians, which gives us about 56.5 radians per second. We square that, multiply it by our 0.120 meter radius, and the resulting centripetal acceleration is a staggering 384 meters per second squared. To really put that into perspective, if we divide it by normal Earth gravity, we get 39.2 Gs. The centripetal acceleration pulling on Button's nose was nearly 40 times the normal force of gravity. Because of this massive localized outward pull, it's actually reputed that Button ruptured small blood vessels in his nose just from spinning. So if 39 Gs is enough to literally burst human blood vessels, what happens when we intentionally push centripetal acceleration to its absolute technological limit? In medicine and biology, scientists constantly need to separate out single cells, like bacteria, viruses, or blood cells from liquid solutions. Relying on gravity alone would take way, way too long for these tiny particles to settle. So how do they force them to separate almost instantly? They use a device called an ultracentrifuge. Let's calculate the acceleration for a typical lab setup. Imagine we have a specimen sitting 7.50 centimeters from the central axis of an ultracentrifuge, and the whole thing is spinning at an absolutely mind-boggling 75,000 revolutions per minute. We tackle this exactly like we did with the ice skater. First, convert revolutions per minute into radians per second. So 75,000 RPM times 2π radians divided by 60 seconds, that gives us about 7,854 radians per second for our omega. We convert our radius to 0.075 meters, plug it all into A sub c equals r times omega squared, and, well, the result is kind of hard to fathom. The math gives us 4.63 times 10 to the 6th meters per second squared. When we divide that by 9.8 to compare it to Earth's gravity, we get 472,000 Gs. And this brilliantly highlights why the angular formula is so useful here. By cranking up the rotation rate to tens of thousands of RPMs, we create an environment where the acceleration is nearly 500,000 times stronger than the gravity holding you in your chair right now. This artificial extreme forces materials of different densities to separate in just a fraction of the time it would take naturally. All right, before we wrap up, let's quickly lock in the key takeaways from today's explainer. First, the paradox. Uniform circular motion absolutely involves acceleration because the direction of your velocity is continuously changing. Second, this centripetal acceleration is always pointing inward, directly seeking the center of rotation. And third, you have two main tools to calculate it: v squared over r when you know linear speed, and r times omega squared when you're dealing with rotation rates. But wait, this leaves us with one incredibly massive, lingering question. Newton's laws clearly tell us that a net external force is required to cause any acceleration. So, if centripetal acceleration is constantly pointing inward toward the center of the circle, what is the actual physical force pulling it there? What invisible force keeps the car from flying off the highway or the skater from launching across the ice? That is exactly what we are going to uncover in our next explainer on centripetal force.